1.21 gigawatts. Great God!
Shall we play a game?
Would you like a jelly baby?
Engage auto systems.
Aye. Engaged.
Clear all moorings.
Cleared, sir.
1/4 impulse power.
You know how to fly, don't you?
No. Do you?
You shall not pass!
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here.
The Force will be with you, always.
All right. Hi, and welcome to the Geek Hangout podcast. My name is Mark, and I am joined tonight, as always, by my very good friend and co-host, Grant. How you doing tonight, Grant?
Hey, Mark, I'm doing great. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning into the Geek Hangout podcast. This is episode 69. We got a nice show for you tonight, catching up on some Marvel and Star Wars news and whatever else may come our way. And as always, we like to start out, ask each other what we've been doing. So, Mark, what's been going on? What have you been up to lately?
Well, I have been following the Philadelphia Phillies, who are in the NLCS playoffs today. I've got that going on over here. While today's the first night with the Padres against the Padres, so I got that playing over to the side. So if I get distracted, you know what happens.
Right there, you go. Right.
But anyway, so I've been doing that, keeping up with the Phillies, and but I have quite a few things going on lately. Went to New York Comic-Con for the first time. I've never been there. We had a great time there. It was different. It was fun. We had a good time, but it wasn't quite what I expected it to be.
Oh,
you know?
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of guests there and stuff, and my wife is a big. We went because my wife loves Outlander. Okay. And there were three of her favorite actors were at Comic-Con, so she got the photo package and we got our picture taken. But it was like Sam Heughan and I forget who the other two actors are. So she's in love with Sam Heughan. I think she would easily toss me to the side for Sam Heughan. But so we did that. That was a lot of fun. But it was just I don't know. It wasn't quite what I expected it to be. I mean, we had a good time.
Right.
I mean, we didn't do any panels or anything.
Okay.
And we only went on Sunday.
So, I guess what was it and what were you expecting?
I think I'm kind of used to these like little Comic-Cons that we go to in Philly, in the Philly area.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of like when you go up to the vendor floor, there's sort of a lot of stuff, and there's used toys, and there's a lot of stuff like that kind of stuff, Right. I mean, you can even usually find somebody selling video games and all that kind of stuff. And this really wasn't like that. Like it was truly like comic focused, which I guess is you would expect at a Comic-Con. But you know what I'm saying? Like it was like if you were looking for comics, there were tons of comics to buy. Okay. And there was a lot of like I feel like Etsy kind of things, like people who are selling their stuff. But like beyond that, like I was really surprised. Like there wasn't a whole lot of like I was looking for like toys and things like that, and there wasn't a whole lot of that. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. It makes.
A lot of collectible stuff. There was a lot of Funko stuff.
Oh, that's everywhere.
Which I have no interest in whatsoever.
That's like an infestation.
Yeah, right. It's truly. It's gonna be it's like the Beanie Babies of our time.
I feel that way too. It's just if you like them, great. But I'm just kind of like,
Yeah. I think Nick my son was like he was a little disappointed at the whole experience, because we sort of walked around and there wasn't a whole lot like there was hardly any video game stuff. There was a few people.
So I guess so that's interesting. If you're not truly into the comics, then it maybe especially on Sunday, then it wasn't nearly as much to do. I know they made some announcements. I know they I wasn't there for any of the cool announcements. Say what again?
I wasn't there for any of the cool announcements.
Right, but that's what I mean. I don't know. Like they did a whole Star Trek. I think that was a whole Star Trek panel. So I guess if you had gotten into the panel, then they released the news and they showed I forgot, but they released a trailer for Picard season 3.
Oh yeah, you know what? I haven't seen that yet.
I saw it, but I forgot about it. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not included in tonight because I
Yeah,
forgot about it.
we're not covering that one.
But I saw some other news, pop up throughout the weekend and stuff. But I guess, yeah, it was more panel related than it was actual, like floor stuff.
Right. Yeah, it was. I don't know. It just wasn't quite what I expected. And you know what surprised me is they had that Star Trek panel.
Right.
And they were all there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's pictures of them being there, and like everybody was there. None of them signed. There were no autograph.
Really?
For any of them.
Oh, that's
now
interesting.
Anson Mount was there.
Okay.
And he was signing, and then the woman who is the navigator, she's the Sulu of.
Oh, I know you mean. Yeah, right. She's got the shades.
She's got the short hair.
Yeah. Oh, she was there signing.
She was there. So
Okay.
those two were there, but that was it. There was no. Those guys were there for the panel, but they didn't sign, which I was really surprised by that.
That's
because I was like,
interesting.
why would you? I mean, I guess
they were probably paid to be there for the announcement.
Right.
Maybe they made their money off of that and they didn't have to sign.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we're out of here.
I know, right? But I mean, I know some of those guys, they make like a lot of money doing that. Like, I mean, like when we remember the one show we went to, like Data was supposed to be there. I'm blanking on it. What's his name? Brent
Spiner.
Yeah, and then instead, Jordy was there. LeVar Burton, and
and that was right here in Oaks.
Yeah.
Like that was a small.
That was a very small. Yeah.
So that's why. That's what I was so surprised. I was like, why would they sign at Oaks, which is tiny?
Unless maybe they signed on Saturday only or something like that.
No, because we were looking because we were debating on whether or not we were going to get tickets for Saturday and Sunday. And I kind of looked at it. I was like, well, I don't really see anybody.
Oh, interesting.
I would go. I mean, Christopher Lloyd was there.
Right.
Michael J. Fox. He was only signing. That was cool. Daniel Radcliffe was there because he was selling, or he was promoting the Weird Al Yankovic movie.
Oh, right. Yes.
Weird Al Yankovic was there. You could have gotten his signature.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just I don't know. Just I was a little surprised by the some of it, and it just I was just sort of surprised.
Interesting.
But I mean, we had fun, but it was just like, I don't know. Like, now that I've done it, I was kind of like, oh, that was fun. I don't know that I would do it again.
Spend the money to go back and do that again.
Unless there was somebody that I really wanted to see. I mean, I guess that Comic-Con is really all about the panels, I think.
Yeah.
And I think if you're not going to the panels, you're probably missing out.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. I mean, unless you're like a diehard. I can't even imagine anymore though. Like, in this day and age, if you want to when we were younger collecting, and as I collected when I was older and stuff, there for a period of time, there were always issues you were looking for. And it used to be you'd go and dig through the back issue.
Right.
Bins. So like, I could see that being a draw, but anymore now, you just go online, click, and it's there. I mean, you know what I mean? Like I feel like the hunt is gone for that.
Yeah.
So,
I would never, like, now that I can get everything on, like, I love the Marvel, what's it, Unlimited. I love the Unlimited.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because it's just, if something comes up and you're like, oh, hey, I want to read that comic, and 9 times out of 10 you go out there and it's there.
Yeah, it's there and it's free. It's free or subscription based or whatever. But yes, no, I know what you mean. Definitely. I think the days of combing the back issue bins and hunting for that one issue that you had to read are long gone. Because if you can't get the click and get the issue online, you just go to you have access to both of the DC's is unlimited now too. I think it's called or something, but still, it's all out there. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. We did that, and then we walked around New York too. So we went to the Harry Potter store, which we hadn't been to before. That was fun. Yeah, that we hit that when we were up there over the summer. That was cute.
Yeah. So that was really cool. But I think the big thing I've got going on, and I just like, I'm going to the Starcruiser next week. So it just kind of came out of nowhere. And
that is awesome.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to that. That should be fun. So I'll report back on on what we all think it is. I mean, we talked way back in episode 60 about what our thoughts about the Starcruiser.
Right.
I don't think it's changed much for me.
Okay.
So I'm very curious to see if what this thing's all about. So so I'm going to Starcruiser. I'm going with 3 other guys. And we're going to see how it goes. I mean,
Cool.
I'll report back and tell you what I think about it.
Well,
I think I said even back in 60, I was like, I think it's probably a lot of fun.
Yeah, right.
But is it a your star? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
Right.
I'm curious.
I am too, because like you said, it's like, on one hand, it seems like it could be awesome. On the flip side, it sounds like it could be exhausting.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, so it'll be nice to get a firsthand account of exactly what it is,
Yeah. So and that's really what it is, because I've read a lot about it. I've seen people's videos.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that to believe. I don't know. Both sides. I don't know the people that were like it's a miserable experience, and the people that were like it's the greatest thing ever. So I don't know who to believe. So we'll find out.
Right.
So,
all right. Well, that sounds cool, right?
Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
I am too. I really want to hear about it. So
yeah. So I will definitely report back. We'll do a show, and I'm probably going to be doing social media while I'm there. I might be using my wife's social media platforms, but I'll tag us, and so
yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, right. That way everybody can sort of follow along and everything like that.
Yeah, so it'll be fun to see. So
good. That's great. All right, cool.
All right.
Looking forward to it. Yeah.
But what have you been up to?
Unfortunately, nothing that exciting. Really just been I've been watching a lot of the TV shows and just catching up on everything. In terms of geek stuff, that's pretty much it. Nothing crazy. We're going to talk about Andor and She-Hulk during the episode and stuff, but I was just going to mention really quick, I've been watching House of the Dragon on HBO Max, and I'm current with that, and that's actually been surprisingly good. I when it first came on, I know I was very much like, I'm not watching it, whatever, and when the first episode came out, I happened to be on an airplane, and as I was like getting ready to go, I'm like, oh, let me download this real quick. Just, it was something to do. Yeah. And I liked it. So I've been watching, and it's been pretty good. I mean, it's not the end all be all. I think it's going to take quite some time if it ever can get to the Game of Thrones level.
Right.
But it's been good. It's been fun. And it keeps you on your toes, and there's various twists and stuff like that. The only critique I have, which is kind of minor, I guess, but so it's taking place over very large periods of time. So like halfway, or I think it was 2 weeks ago, they switched like half the cast because they grew up and got older.
Oh yeah, I think you mentioned that on the last show.
That yes, right. So then this week, it happened again, or maybe it was last week, but then it happened again, and you're like, oh wait, these kids are older now, and so it's once you like, if you know what's going on, it's fine. But as you're sitting there watching it, they have the blonde hair, so you're like, oh, they're a Targaryen. But I'm like, well, which one's this now? Like you got to remember.
Yeah, it's right. It's hard enough to keep track of them as it is.
right.
They change the actors on you.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. So, but overall, I've been enjoying it and stuff. So it's been pretty good. But yeah, so it'll be interesting. I think next week is the series or the season finale of it. So that should be good. There was this past week, there was a lot of good action. There's some interesting action, I should say. So yeah. So anyway, I don't want to not mention that just because that we've covered Game of Thrones so much. Game of Thrones so much. So
yeah, and I really want to see the show. Like I saw the first 2 episodes.
Okay.
And I was telling you before the show, like we've been busy since like it was like mid-September. We've been doing stuff. It's like every weekend. So I just haven't. I saw the first 2 episodes. I want to get back to it, and I just haven't had had a chance. Like I was actually behind on Andor. I was behind on She-Hulk, and I caught up to them so that we could do the show tonight.
Right.
So now I'm behind on that. I'm behind on Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, no,
and I'm just trying to avoid spoilers on Twitter and stuff. So
it's like hard though. Like with Lord of the Rings, I haven't started watching that yet. I'm kind of doing a wait and see type of attitude. But like, I don't even know if I heard a spoiler, I don't even know if I would even realize what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not that in tune with the characters and stuff. So but I'm kind of waiting for a big moment like I don't know. I'm waiting for it to get like a lot of buzz to be like, oh, I should go check that out. Because as of now, I'm like, I just hear, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I've talked to a couple of people. Like, I think they've. I mean, and it's been a while since I've talked to anybody, but I think it was like 4 weeks in, and I think they were thinking the same thing. It's like it's pretty slow.
Okay, all right.
It's like there's slow burns, and then there's like
right
inching,
along. Right. I know, right.
And that seemed to be the complaint. So I don't know. I do want to. I'm going to sit down and see it. I like Lord of the Rings. I I loved all those movies, so I'm going to sit down and watch it at some point. I just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. So but I mean, other than that, just been catching up or watching all the other stuff. I think that's really about it. Nothing really geek oriented. I was not cleaning out, but refining my collection. So I've been selling some stuff on eBay and Facebook and stuff like that. Just streamlining things. I do that periodically. I'll go through and clear out stuff.
And then you go and rebuy it.
Right, exactly. What? How much money in my account? And then I go buy something new and different.
All right, so that's part of it's all part of collecting. I see. Once I have something, I never get rid of it.
I know,
much to my wife's annoyance. So if I bought it, it's going to be with me until the day I die.
Right, I know. For the most part, if I buy something and then resell it, it's very rare for me to regret it. Usually, when I'm done with it, and I sell it off, and I'm happy. The only thing I really regret is and I shouldn't say really, but I do regret is I sold all my comic book collection, my entire comic book collection off, over several years, like actually quite a long time ago at this point.
You sold mine too.
Oh, that's right. I did. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We were living together when you sold.
Yeah. Yeah. So I sold all that stuff, but I sold off all the original Star Wars comics, and I don't necessarily not that I want to read them, but they're worth so much more now than when I sold them. So that's the only thing. And to be perfectly honest, if I had them now, I probably would have turned around and sold them anyway, because you know what I mean? Like, it's just more like you look at the value and you're like, oh man, I had that. Look how much it's worth now.
Yeah.
So, but
that's it. Yeah. If collecting has taught me nothing else, it's taught me that hold on to that thing until you think that nobody wants it, because at some point, it's all gonna. I'm telling you, like when I started buying all those video consoles, people were giving Wii's away. They were giving them away for like $20.
Yeah,
that's all they were asking for them. And now it's like you go out there and look for a Wii now, and they're going for like $100.
Right. Everyone realized now it's like suddenly it's like with the old vintage Star Wars stuff. When I first was getting into it, or re-getting into it, I was going out and I bought several collections, and was able to make good money on. But now you go out there and it's like pure, like just trash, like just beaters, and they're like $200, and you're like, no.
I just say, like, I look at Facebook Marketplace and I'm like, look at this guy trying to sell this like 20-year-old console for like $200. I'm like, who do you think's buying this?
But it is interesting to see some of the other stuff out there that's basically anything from our childhood is now worth money, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's just funny where you're like, wait, what? I always do Star Wars stuff, but like the GI Joes, the Transformers, we were a little bit too old for those, but all that stuff, it's like everything now.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff goes for a lot now.
That's been going for a lot now. That's right. That was like, I think, the comics were when we were younger, but I think the toys and stuff in the cartoon were like late 80s.
They were like, like we sort of missed the toy wave. Like we were we were older.
Right.
But that stuff's huge.
And it's just, it's just, it goes with it. I'm sure it goes in cycles. So I'd be curious to see, like, Star Wars, like, we're old now, but once we get older, it's like, are people still going to be buying this stuff, or is it going to be all these old guys like trying to sell off their collection? There's going
to be a lot of Funko Pops out there. I know that.
Right? Yes.
A lot of Funko Pops.
Yes, I'm sure. Right. Exactly. Oh well. All right. So I guess that's about it for what we're doing. You want to move into
Yeah, should we get into it?
yeah. First up is Marvel then. Okay.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of Marvel stuff, I guess.
Yeah. Well, first up we got She-Hulk.
Yeah.
So that wrapped up this past week. We kind of did talk about that last episode, but I guess just as the the last couple episodes that we didn't talk about, what did you think in general and everything? What did you think of She-Hulk?
I'll say this: the final episode I liked.
Okay,
Not that I disliked the series. I mean, I said last time, it was entertaining. It was fine. I mean, I didn't love it,
right?
But I thought it was entertaining. I watched it every week. I enjoyed it. But it's definitely not it's not high on my list of favorite Marvel shows or movies or anything.
Yeah.
But I thought the last episode was really confusing but funny. I enjoyed that. But yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of my. I didn't hate it. I know there's people out there that are just. I was actually watching YouTube videos I was going through trying to prep for the show, and I was watching some summary stuff to kind of catch, remind myself of everything that went on over the season. And there's people out there on YouTube who have these scathing videos about how it's the worst thing that's there. It's ruining Marvel. And I'm like, I don't know, man, settle down. It's not it was okay. I mean, it wasn't.
You're like, settle down, go outside for a little while.
I've seen way worse things than this in my life.
Right.
This I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I didn't hate it by any means. It's not my favorite thing in the world. We talked a lot about the last time about the CGI and that stuff.
Yeah,
and that's that I think is a great. We kind of really pinpointed. I think for me at least the disconnect is because you're watching She-Hulk and she's being funny or telling jokes and you're trying to connect, but somewhere your brain's like, that's a fake woman, that's a fake Hulk or like that. So that was a big portion of it. This last episode I liked, but it was weird. I don't mind funny and I don't mind meta, obviously that stuff, but it was just in terms of the overall MCU, it was very. It was jarring, you're just like, oh wait, okay, we're doing this now. And for so long, and I understand they have to do it and they have to be different. And you're taking chances and you're taking risks and you gotta, everybody can't be under the little, the little sameness umbrella. So I get it. But when she pops out of the Disney Plus screen and was looking around, I know that's right from some of the comics, she would jump panels and do different things like that. So I knew where the origin was, I knew all that stuff, but I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like this. I'm like, it was just jarring is the best way to say it.
I truly thought when that happened, I was like, what happened to my thing? I was
that's
playing.
funny. That's right.
And then she popped out of the little square. It was
funny.
clever. It was the thing I think it reinforces this was never meant to be, and I think, and part of it is that we've been trained, right? Like I said, that we said this the last time, we've been trained that everything connects, everything means something, look for it all. I think this was truly it's just a standalone show.
Right.
She may show up again and she may show up in Avengers and all that kind of stuff, but I guess it was just sort of a little comedy, light. It wasn't supposed to be this big thing.
Yeah, right. That's right. We've been trained to think everything is, everything's connected, everything matters, and this and that. And then her just being silly, and it was very, just threw you off,
Yeah.
So, what'd you think of? I forget if Daredevil had made his appearance when we talked last or not.
He had not.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, I like that. I like seeing him as Daredevil again. Yeah. I don't love the costume as much. I like the costume from the original series better.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they're when Daredevil first appeared in the comics, his suit was yellow.
Okay.
And then they quickly changed it to red.
Okay.
So I don't know if they're doing that as sort of a, oh, this is a very early Matt Murdock type of scenario, and that's why they had him in that costume. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I don't know what they're or maybe they want to. A lot of times when they do in the comics, they'll do the yellow Daredevil. It's more like lighthearted because it's a big yellow costume type of thing. So I don't know if I don't know what their thinking was. I know they did say, and I read somewhere that this Daredevil is not the same Daredevil from the Netflix shows.
Right. That's what.
So
yeah,
that may have been their way of letting you know that, like, look, we really like the actor, we wanted him to stick around, but this is a different version of Daredevil. So
yeah,
maybe something like that.
I wanted to like does Matt Murdock and She-Hulk, do they get together in the comic, or is that a thing for just for the show?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was that. I don't remember it ever being a thing. I mean, it could have happened somewhere in the past, 50 years or whatever, how long ever long they've been around. I don't know if they just thought it would just be funny because they're both lawyers, because it'd be like, oh, let's have them come together and stuff. I thought it was funny and I enjoyed it in the show, but big picture and all that, I'm like, I don't know what this means. I don't know where they're going with this.
Yeah.
Again, with Daredevil, they're going to have this big Born Again series, like 22 episodes coming out or something like that. And I'm sort of like, well, all right. His intro, the comic book Born Again was very serious. So I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm like, you introduce them in a comedy show and then you're going to go do something different. So I'm not sure what they're, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But, I liked him, but yeah, it just left me questioning. It's like, all right, well, if he's being more silly over here, what's it going to mean for a series? Is that going to be more adventurous and fun, which is fine, or are we going to get more of a darker version of Daredevil type of thing? But maybe because we already had that with Netflix, maybe they are going to go in a different direction.
Yeah, and and that was the thing. I think that was what and I liked having him there, but it was a little jarring because it was like he was so intense.
Yes,
in those Netflix shows, and I know they've said, okay, well, this isn't the same, but he was like really intense in those Netflix shows, and he's just. And he's like a totally different person in this show.
And this one, he's like kind of like silly and like he's like laughing, and,
joking around, and I'm like, where did this guy come from?
Right.
And I guess it's fine. I'm fine with it. It's like they said, like he's a different. I don't know if this is going to end up being like a different universe, and he's going to be a different, different Matt Murdock, or I know what you I know what you mean. I thought you meant what do you call it? Do you mean the Netflix version, or do you mean the She-Hulk version? Both. Like they could be in different, like maybe Matt Murdock's in the 616. The Netflix guy is from some other universe.
They could totally do something like that. That's true.
But I mean I thought it was I just don't like, and we've said this before. I don't get all the hate. I understand people not liking it. Right. I don't get the hate that's out there for this show.
Right.
It was okay. I mean,
it was okay. Had some laughs.
I probably won't watch it again. I watched it once. I probably won't go back to it. But it was fine the first time through. I mean, I didn't love it, but it was okay.
Yeah, and I'd like to see if they do if it does come back for a second season. I would hope, or I would love to see them basically improve the CGI because if you can make that connection, I think the comedy would play better. And I think that's like I said, that's part of my disconnect, is that it doesn't, some of the comedy, especially when she's She-Hulk, doesn't work, when it's just when she's just Jennifer Walters, like that stuff I find more charming, so
it's just, and I noticed it the other night when I was watching the finale. I'm usually not picky about CGI. I know there's people out there that are like picking them all apart, but I usually am not. I'm like, if it's passable, I usually don't. I'm fine with it.
Right.
But like, it was just like when she was in the office, like when she got to the office and she was talking to like the the front desk person or whatever.
Right.
I'm looking at her and I was like, she almost looks like plastic. Like it
Right.
just didn't look
It-
right.
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah. I know. I don't know if you saw on I posted on Twitter like shortly after our last podcast. They actually have a woman who's
I did see that.
she's very tall and she's a stand-in for what eventually they put the CGI over. But I couldn't help but look at her and think, why don't you just paint her green?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if she's a good actress. I don't know if she has the comedy timing
Right.
and all that stuff. But I'm just like, it would have saved you a lot of money.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. The only other thing I was going to mention with She-Hulk, and unless you have something else, is at the very end, in terms of what we enjoy about the MCU is everything connects. The Hulk does come back, and he has his son,
Yes.
Scar, right?
Yes.
With him, it's Skaar. So I forget if he said his name or not, but I looked up who his son was online, and so that's nobody knows what that is leading towards, but Hulk has a son now.
Well, somebody said they thought it was leading to World War Hulk,
Right.
but I don't remember a son in World War Hulk. Did you ever read that series?
I think I did not. If I don't remember, I don't think I did. I'm not sure. I know, like, basically in the comics, Hulk goes off world somehow. He basically does become like a what do you call it? Like a gladiator fighter type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's where they picked up a lot of that from Thor. And I guess at some point he does have a son somewhere, but he doesn't know about it until much later. And
Well,
the thing, good.
What I remember is it's like, I think what causes World War Hulk, they sent him off world. I think
Right.
what causes World War Hulk is that his wife and kid die.
Oh.
And then he comes back to Earth to get revenge on the people that sent him
Oh, see, I didn't
to
remember.
Sakaar in the first place.
Oh, all right.
That's how I remember it. I mean,
Right.
correct, but and the son was like, he may not even have been born. Like, she may have been pregnant with the son.
Well, the thing I read here is that, so I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, so Scar in the comics, anyway, his mother is called Kyra, and she had some sort of like Earth or other planet earthy powers, and whatever happens is she gets killed protecting him, and then the Scar, and then Scar emerges from being like a cocoon or something, they said, and then he wants to kill the Hulk. And so then he comes to Earth and he wants to kill the Hulk. But once he gets here, after several pages of fighting, I'm sure, he realizes that this version of the Hulk is not the version that was in World War Hulk or causing all this damage and destruction.
Okay.
So I don't know if all that happened off world. Like, I don't know if they did a Hulk movie, I don't know if that would take place like during She-Hulk, basically. Like, I don't know.
Right.
Or did he go pick his son up and bring him to Earth, and that's just it? There could be more story to be told there. I'm not quite sure how they're going to play it out.
Right.
But apparently Scar is very powerful because he's like got the Hulk powers, but then he also inherited his mother's like Earth powers, which were very vague when I read it, but it sounded like they could somehow control the ground and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was really interesting. So I'm like, okay, I'm back now. All the Avengers are having kids that survive.
Yes, right. Yeah,
So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I took it to be. It's like, all right, they're setting the Hulk up. So if between She-Hulk and his son, they could pass that along if they wanted to.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he could hook up with Tony's daughter and Thor's daughter, and
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the Thor's daughter, I don't believe she's from the comics at all. So that's like that's brand new. So yeah, I assume some sort of Young Avengers something is coming our way. But apparently, one of the things I did look up or was interested in is apparently, so there's another character called Hulkling. And I was getting him and Scar confused. I didn't realize they were two separate characters.
Okay.
But so Hulkling is part Skrull, part what's the other aliens? Who I thought I had it here. Damn it. I'm gonna have to edit this out. Let's see. what are the scrolls in the what's in the Kree? There you go.
Creek. Yes, that's it. Okay.
So, oh,
Sorry.
no, I know.
I got
So,
to think of it either.
yeah. So Hulkling is part Skrull, part Kree, and like has like Hulk-ish powers, but mainly he's a shapeshifter, but he calls himself Hulkling. So I was getting him and Scar confused. So just as a note, that character Hulkling is part of the Young Avengers, but he is different from Scar. So I don't know if he's going to show up basically in the MCU. That's what I'm trying to say.
Things are getting very complicated.
I know, right? And this is all well beyond any of the comics that I've read. I'm like, having to look stuff up now. I'm like, all right, I don't know who this is, but
Yeah, so. So I thought that was, I was like, okay. So when Scar showed up, I was like, he has a son? Is that a thing? Yeah. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
okay.
See where it goes.
Yeah, I don't know where he'll turn up next, but all right. They were setting something up there, so I guess
It'll be like a buddy flick.
I read that.
A whole buddy flick.
That actually could be pretty. Like that could be kind of fun, right?
Right.
Him and his, him and his son getting to know each other, and obviously fight. Obviously, the mandatory fight at some point.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, oh well, yeah. I'm not sure if the MCU has the rights to a Hulk movie yet. You know what I mean? Like I know they have the rights to the characters, but I'm not sure if they have the rights to the
right.
So,
if he can do his own, because that's his thing. He can't be in his own movie for one reason or another.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe they could call it something different and then have Hulk, She-Hulk, and Scar show up or something like that.
Right.
Whatever. So anyway, that's about it for She-Hulk.
That's all I have.
Yeah, same here. So the next thing we were going to talk about with MCU is, here it is, Werewolf by Night.
And this, I will get you guys. This is like a totally different situation. Like I love this show.
Yes. Yeah, this was really good. It was a one and done Halloween special, but man, I really liked it. It was it was like definitely a very much a love letter to the old monster movies of the past, and like just like the way they shot it, and like there's no spoilers, but there's really no secret here. He turns into a werewolf at one point, and like the girl is here, and behind her you see the shadows of him changing into werewolf. Very old school, very very well done. I thought I really liked that aspect of it.
And I just read today that where he changes and you kind of see it on the wall.
Yeah,
that is not CGI. They did that while they were shooting.
Oh,
it
really?
Was, that is it's, and they did it like they would have done it back in the day. They had two actors, and that's what the strobe effect was, and they swap them in.
Oh, that's
cool. That's all practical effect there. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. It was so much fun. It was just all the everything. I mean, the trailer shows definitely heavily hints here that we're watching the trailer on YouTube.
Yeah.
But heavily hints that they have the film burn away, and it was just so well done. And I mean, the surprise thing for me is like in the trailer you see briefly Man-Thing, and I wasn't quite sure what to expect. And here he's like a main guy in it. Yeah, he was like awesome. What's his name? Ted, right?
Ted, yeah.
He was really cool.
I love this show. If you have not seen it yet, sit down and watch it. I'm actually going to watch it again. I saw it today for the first time, but I'm going to sit down and like really watch it, because there's a lot in here. It's a lot of fun. I mean, if you like those old like monster movies, the classic monster movies, this is a total love letter to that.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to my friend, and he was saying, he's like, oh, I don't know if I'm interested in that. I don't really like horror. And I said, oh, no. I said, it's not horror. It's like, I mean,
it's like the classic, classic monster movies, which are not really horror.
It's like 1940s horror,
right?
You know what I mean? It's like, so, it was very, very well done. Couple things to note as we're watching the trailer here, but I saw that Man-Thing was, at least parts of him anyway, was a practical effect.
Okay.
Yeah, because I thought when they first showed him, I'm like, he's CGI, but then today they're like, oh no, he's practical, and they had the puppet. I saw a picture of that, and I thought that was very interesting. And the other thing I was going to point out is the one guy, he's kind of like Scottish, I guess. He kind of has got the beard like me,
Yeah.
right. His name is Kirk Thatcher, and he is the guy from Star Trek that was on the bus with the mohawk. Star Trek.
Oh, he
4.
is?
Right. He was in Star Trek 4, and then he came back in Picard.
In Picard, right?
Yeah, that's the same guy.
Get the heck out
as
of
all
here.
that. He does a bunch of stuff with the Muppets and all that stuff. And so I didn't realize I knew they brought him back for Picard for that cameo, but I didn't realize he was still acting. And when he popped up here, I'm like, hey man, it's I think it's Kurt or Kirk. I can't remember his name now, but yeah, I follow him on Twitter, and I was like, oh man, that's awesome. Cool. Good for him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the other thing that I know, the woman, the actress who plays, is her name's Elsa, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Right. Not the Frozen Elsa. It's
Yeah.
a different Elsa, but I think her name is Elsa. But the woman who plays that role is, speaking of Outlander, is an Outlander.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She's apparently she's not coming back for one reason or another. But I wonder if because I do think this show sets up some.
Yes.
I mean, it's a fun show. It's kind of its own thing.
Yeah.
But I do think it may be setting some things up, and I'm wondering if she's not coming back in some other way in the Marvel MCU.
It wouldn't surprise me, and I half expected him to show up in the show here, but I wouldn't be surprised if Elsa ends up somehow with Blade.
Right. Like I think this show sets up a lot. I don't think it's going to be a situation where you need to watch this in order to appreciate Blade.
Right.
But I think some of these characters, I do think we're going to revisit some of these characters in Blade.
Yes. Yeah. I definitely think that. Like I said, I'm watching it, and when early on they introduce around the table, they're introducing all the other. Well, I forget what their names were. All the people that were for the event. They all
Bloodstones. Their last name's Bloodstone.
Maybe they were all. Or
I know the thing is called Bloodstone, but I thought
they were all
names with Bloodstone too.
They were all there hoping to win the Bloodstone because the main guy had died. But when they were going around the room, I half expected to see Blade be introduced there.
Yeah, okay.
Just because it's definitely fit in with everything and all that. So, and I definitely think we're going to see them as part of Blade in some way. I mean, if you're going to do a vampire movie, and why wouldn't you bring in a werewolf? You know what I mean? If you're going to make that corner of the MCU, it would make sense, I think.
Yeah. And the woman, Elsa, she was a great character. She was sort of kicking some ass.
Right.
She was a really good character.
So,
I'm totally down for seeing her again. In some fashion.
So at the end, she does, a spoiler alert, but she does get the Bloodstone at the very end.
Yeah.
Right. And so I meant to look it up, and I didn't. I don't really know what the Bloodstone's powers were. You know what I mean? I don't know what powers it grants you.
Well, other than what does it? It's like. I mean, basically, if I understood it correctly, it helps you hunt. These are all monster hunters,
right?
And the Bloodstone helps you
hunt monsters. I guess, right?
That's.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure it's a lot bigger explanation, but that was that was the essence that I picked up, of the show. So, but it's really good. I mean, I really, really liked it a lot. I think I'm going to watch this several times, and the characters were fun. And frankly, there was quite a bit of violence in this show for a Marvel Disney Plus TV show. No, I think that's part of why it was in black and white, because they could get away with a little bit more. Well,
at some points they had, we're saying it's not hard, but at some points they did have blood splatter on the camera,
right?
But it was black, so it wasn't gross, but it was, you know what I mean. So I think you're right. I think that may have been a wise choice why they made it black and white,
Right.
Yeah.
So, because that's because famously Psycho's the same thing. That's why Psycho was in black and white, because they had to do it in color. They couldn't do it in color. They could have.
Oh.
They did it in black and white because there was so much blood in that one scene.
I don't think I ever knew that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Oh, well, I see. Yeah. See, there you go. Learn something new.
Yeah, but I this is a great show. I mean, it's just fabulous. So go if you haven't checked it out yet, to take the time, and it's about an hour. It's longer than I expected it to be.
Yeah. I know Phase 4 for MCU has been very. They've been trying a lot of different things, but man, if they want to try more like this, I'm on board with that. You know what I mean? Like, I absolutely loved it. It was really, really cool. So, hopefully we get to see more of that. I mean, even if we get to, you know what, not for anything, even if they do it once a year as like a Halloween special, right? Just, that'd be fun too. And eventually maybe tied in with Blade or something like that. But yeah, that'd be fun. It would definitely be fun.
Well, we've said, I think we've discussed on the show, like, I mean, like, of all the stuff that's coming out, Blade is probably what I'm least interested in.
Yeah, right.
But you know what? If they go down this like, I mean, it's not going to be, Blade isn't going to be like this, because there's some comedy elements to this and everything.
Maybe it will. Maybe
if these characters are in Blade, I'll be more interested in seeing it.
Yeah. Well, and then if Blade is done more this way, then I mean, the other Blade movies were rated R. They were very bloody. Yeah. And I think I only saw the first one, to be perfectly honest. But like, they, when you think of a vampire movie, that's what you would think of, like very bloody, very great, like horror. And like, that's not really my thing. But if they can do Blade more like this, more like a stylized horror, I guess you could call it. Or, I mean, it wasn't really horror though. Like, it was just a little gruesome. I mean, by today's standards, no, but I guess somebody may have thought that. But anyway, like we're saying, if they could do it more like this, I think I might be much more interested in what Blade could be. Yeah.
And if they bring back Man-Thing.
Definitely,
Man-Thing was awesome.
He was awesome,
and I didn't know anything about Man-Thing, but like, I'm totally into Man-Thing now.
Right. The only thing I knew was that he was like sort of a riff on Swamp Thing from DC, and so when he comes in the first time and grabs the guy and like sort of dissolves him, I had no idea that were his powers. I'm like, whoa, what's happening here? Yeah. So yeah, he was cool though. Definitely liked him, and
I was watching something else today, and I picked up, apparently. And I think this is true. I may be wrong here, but I think this is right, or at least this is what or something. But like, the first appearance of Moon Knight,
right,
is in a Werewolf by Night, comic.
That is. I do know that. Yes.
So now I'm like, so we were talking about Marvel Unlimited. I'm totally going back to Marvel Unlimited to find that comic now. I want to see that.
That's interesting now that you say that, because I don't know if I don't know if Werewolf by Night was like, he's a character, but I don't know if that was like an anthology series and Moon Knight appeared in it, or if it was like a story and Moon Knight was part of it. So like, my point is I wonder if we might see some of these characters in Moon Knight.
Well, that's I think that may be, because now you're sort of getting into like, this is another sort of like, not I guess mystical. You're talking Doctor Strange, but this is more. Like, Moon Knight is more
magical, like
magic. Yeah, like it deals with magic and things like that. I think you could totally put him in. I think he would fit in something like this.
I mean, right, because during his show, like, he was fighting those jackal things, and you know what I mean, like.
Right, and you have and you have Crunch. What's his name? Khonshu.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he's dead. Right, like, he's a god. He's a, so I there's like a horror element to that. I don't know. Like, it's like after watching this, and that's the thing that I thought about was, we've said several times, like, I don't know how I feel about Blade.
Yeah,
right? I don't know if I'm going to go see that. But if they introduce a bunch of cool characters like this,
right,
and then put them in Blade, that'll go see.
Right, they'll entice me to see the movie, basically. Irregardless of Blade.
Yeah.
What Man-Thing's in it? I'm going to see this.
Right, Moon Knight's in it. I'd be down for that.
And speaking of Moon Knight, I don't know if it was at New York Comic Con or not, but I think Oscar Isaac.
He was at New York Comic Con.
He was.
Yes. He was one of the people that if I was going to get a signature, it was going to be him.
Okay, all right. But I think he slipped and said something like, I think he may have inadvertently confirmed a season 2 of Moon Knight.
Oh, did he really?
But it was like one of those things where, like, the clickbait headline was something about, oh, he confirmed it, but then the actual sentence is something like, oh, next time, or oh, see, like he never comes out and says we're doing a season 2, but he kind of refers that might be in the pipeline type of thing.
Oh, okay, all right,
yeah. So I would hope so, because I mean that's been out of all the shows recently, that's been my favorite one. I mean, it's weird and out there, but I liked it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I liked Moon Knight a lot.
Yeah.
So I think he would fit. Like you could totally
definitely
cross all these characters together.
Oh, definitely, right. Yeah, they could do their own little version of Avengers. I think, what I mean, like, that's interesting. That could be a lot of fun.
I'll tell you, like, when we're done here tonight, before I go to bed, I'm probably going to read. I'm going to try to hopefully that Werewolf by Night comic is on Marvel Unlimited.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it is. As a matter of fact, it is, because during, and I don't think we ever talked about this, during Moon Knight, a couple of times during the episode, there's a QR code.
Oh, yes. And they went, yes.
And it took you to a free copy of, I believe, Moon Knight's first appearance.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I don't think we ever talked about that. I remember thinking that was so neat that, they were incorporate that into the show.
That is one of the cool things I think the Marvel TV shows have been doing, is that they do harken back to the actual comics. So, because I think there's a reference, I can't remember what it is, but I think I heard that there's a reference in Werewolf by Night to a comic. It's like in the back somewhere. And She-Hulk had several, right? Where there's like, it'll take you to a comic. Like, I like that they do that.
She-Hulk had stuff like that too?
Yeah, at the end, the very last episode, when she's in there talking to Kevin, all of those comics, like if you zoom in on, there's like those stands that have comics in them.
Okay.
If you zoom in on them, they're all comics that are relevant to She-Hulk, or that refer to something that She-Hulk did, or it's.
Oh, cool. That's fun.
Yeah. So I like that they do that. That's kind of cool.
Yes. Yeah. Right. You got to always, reference and respect the the source material.
Yeah.
So cool. All right, let's see, is there anything else? Oh, we do have one more thing for Marvel.
We have one more thing, and it was like a bit of news.
Yeah. There you go.
And so I started hearing this rumor. I will fully confess, I started hearing this rumor that Harrison Ford was going to and Marvel still hasn't announced it, right?
I believe they I don't know if Marvel has, but Variety has. Like real legitimate news sources have announced.
Okay. All right. Because people started talking about this, and I was like, I don't see it, man.
Right.
I don't see Harrison Ford. Like, I don't feel like Harrison Ford likes these, like,
right.
these kinds of things. Like, he's like he likes. I mean, he's getting older, so I guess he can't do the action flicks anymore as much as he used to. But
I mean, I'd love to hear an interview with him, just to, if he might. I mean, he might be like, they're paying me a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, he might. Right. He could be very dry and say that, or maybe he's like, you know what? I'm interested in the CGI stuff. I'd love, I mean, they're going to have, I think it's going to be hysterical, because they're going to have him in one of those like polka dot suits like they use for the CGI stuff. Yeah. Right? So like, I can't wait for that picture to come out.
When people started talking, I was like, it is not going to be Harrison Ford. Right.
Right.
Like,
I thought the same
no
thing.
way it's going to be Harrison Ford.
Right.
So I am honestly shocked that this is a thing.
Yeah. I don't,
I think I'll be great.
Oh,
but I'm just shocked that he agreed to do it.
Well, I am too, because it's, all right, it's Marvel, it's CGI. He's taken over for somebody who wasn't
John Hurt.
John Hurt had played him, and he passed away. And so, I mean, there's just a bunch of stuff where I'm like, I'm just very surprised that they would want, that he would agree. It almost, not that the Red Hulk, spoilers, but Thunderbolt Ross eventually becomes the Red Hulk. So like, I'm like, it just seems like too small of a part for Harrison Ford to play.
Well, that was part of it too. Like, I could see him playing like maybe just playing Thunderbolt Ross,
Right.
right? But and coming in and doing his like little bit part, and then walking away with a big check. Like I could see him being like, because Harrison Ford is practical if nothing else. He'll be like, yeah, they're going to pay me a lot of money. Sure, what the hell?
Yeah, right.
But I just don't. I don't know. I'm shocked by this announcement. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I think he'll be great, but I just think it's
maybe
bizarre.
He's figuring too. Maybe he's figuring. Well, it's Red Hulk. I'm the bad guy for one movie.
Yeah.
And basically, it's like look, I get to work with Kevin Feige. I get to work with Marvel. Maybe he's interested in the CGI just at one time in his for something in his career. But so maybe that's more what he's like. It's like, look, I'll come in, I'll do this one movie, in and out type of thing, and then that gives them if he. Oh no, I was thinking he was going to be in Thunderbolts, but I think he's going to be in Captain America.
They said what he's going to be in, or his what his first appearance is going to be, but I recognized it, but I don't remember what it was.
I think it's Captain America: New World Order.
I think that's it. I think that's it.
So unless they're figuring they can bring him in for Cap movie, not for anything, but bring him in for Cap's movie, or prop up that movie with some star power, maybe. I don't know. So
we'll see. I just figured, like, knowing his distaste of really the Star Wars franchise,
right?
I just didn't think he would sign on. I mean, the reality is, like, the Marvel franchise is way bigger than Star Wars is now, right?
Yep.
So I personally just thought, I was like, he's never going to sign on to a franchise that.
Right. I honestly thought with Indy 5, I thought that was going to be his last movie. I don't know why, I just assumed he was retiring, and I'm glad he's not. I mean, I like Harrison Ford. So if nothing else, the interviews should be fun. Right.
Oh, yeah. Right. And it's like you said, like, I want to see him in the little polka dot suit,
in the suit,
right? And then I want to hear his responses to the questions about the polka dot suit.
Right. Yeah. So that should be good. Hey,
Harrison Ford is nothing if not entertaining.
Yes.
When he gets interviewed,
and I almost wonder, like, everyone thinks he's like this gruff, like, sour old man now, and like I almost wonder if that's like if he enjoys playing that character,
that role of being the gruff,
right? Like, he keeps coming back and doing all these movies. Every time you see him talk about when he was doing Force Awakens promos, he came back and did Rise of Skywalker. He's even at the indie thing, and that reminds me of something. But he gets like choked up, like, what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm like, is he really a gruff old man? Is he actually, really touched by all this? Is he getting older and thinking like, wow, this actually really means a lot to me? It's interesting. It'd be neat to get inside his head a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I was just the thing that reminded me of Harrison Ford. I did see, and I didn't put it as part of the thing. I did see the leaked Indiana Jones trailer.
Oh, you did?
They showed it at the Disney at D23, I think it was. And I saw, but it's literally like somebody has his phone down like this. It's really like, you can't hardly make it out, but it jived with the description I had, where it's like, you see Indy, like, running down, he's on a horse and he's riding a horse in a subway at one point. You see the ticker tape parade, which is, I believe, the astronauts coming back from the moon.
Okay.
It all lined up with that. But the thing that really got me that I hadn't read or saw before was they play the Indiana Jones theme, but they slow it down a little bit, like they did with the Star Wars theme at the Rise of Skywalker trailer. I don't know if you remember that, but they slowed it down, and it was more piano-y, and it was very like, it was interesting and touching, and I it just grabbed my attention. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be, I think this might be emotional.
Okay.
Like, yeah. So,
all right,
throwing it out there.
All right.
So that wraps up. Yeah, Harrison Ford, right? That wraps up Marvel for us.
Yes. So the next big thing is Andor.
Yeah.
And So I'll throw it to you. We're
Okay.
6 episodes in now.
Right,
There's a
so-
new episode. We're recording on a Tuesday, so a new episode drops tomorrow, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, it does. Right. All right. Yeah.
So we're 6 episodes in.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So we're at the halfway point. I know
Yeah.
there's 12 episodes for the season, halfway through. I've really been enjoying it. I know it's been a little slow, but by design, it's like, they're really like this. So spoilers for everything so far, but so the episode 6, there was the heist. They went in, they got broke into the dam and they stole the money and all that. So they were kind of taking their time leading up to this point, and I really liked it because, like, spoilers again, but when people start getting killed, you're like, oh no, like, it mattered. You got to know some of these characters, and and you kind of get a very good idea of like what Cassian like is thinking, and like you kind of see him going through the thing. Like at first he's a hired guy, but by the end he kind of cares.
Yeah.
So I've really been enjoying it. I like it. I think it's neat to see this side of the Star Wars universe. I mean, I don't think we've seen any stormtroopers yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're right.
We did see some TIE fighter pilots.
Yeah, we saw pilots, right?
Right. But I mean, it's been very minimal. It's like all the normal Star Wars trappings. There's no Jedi, no lightsabers, nothing like that. I mean, even the Empire, like other than a couple TIE fighters and the pilots, like the Imperials are dressed just like Imperials. Like there's not a lot of the traditional costuming and stuff. I like it. I don't know if it makes for good toys,
right.
But whatever, you know what I mean? That's from a TV standpoint, from a show standpoint, I've really been enjoying it a lot. I like it. I'm excited to see where the next 6 episodes are going to take us.
Yeah.
And
I think I'm right there with you. I really like this show a lot. And I know, and I haven't been watching it. Like I watched the first 3 episodes, and then I watched. I just watched the first 3 or the second 3 episodes just the other day, right?
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
So I haven't been watching it week to week like some people. So I guess that's why people are complaining about it slow. But I have to be out from where I'm at, and the way I've been watching it, I don't think it's slow at all.
Right,
like
okay.
I think it's been great. I mean, there's some elements where it's almost like there's 12 episodes, but it was like the first 3 episodes were him. Were all about him escaping. And that 3rd episode was where all the excitement happened. So it's like there's the first 2 episodes are sort of set up,
right,
everything, and then the 3rd episode is where all the action occurs, and that seems to have happened in the second 3 episodes as well. Like those first 2 episodes sort of set everything up, and then the 3rd episode is the big heist.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, and but I like even the setup. I've been enjoying. Like I know that people have been complaining about it being really slow, but I think it's great. Like I've really been enjoying it, and it's like you say, you're getting to know these. There's stakes because you're getting to know these characters,
right?
And I'm not quite sure where they're headed with Mon Mothma. Like that's
right.
Like if there's a part that's sort of like a lull, it's that. Right, like I don't know where and I'm sure it'll all play out, but I don't know where that's headed.
I could see that because I like we know who Mon Mothma is, and like even though she was in Return of the Jedi for like 2 seconds or whatever it is,
right?
We know she's important,
right?
And so when they show her, I'm interested because I'm like, oh, what's Mon Mothma up to? And like they revealed that she had a daughter in this past episode,
right?
And so I was oh, I never knew she had a daughter, or even before,
and a husband, which,
right.
We didn't know.
So I was, interested in that, but I wonder if more casual people might be watching, like, who's this lady? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or not realize that she goes on to become the leader of the rebellion. So, like, there could be some disconnect there, possibly. But yes, I know they keep going to her, and like I said, I usually am interested in that, but I could see people being like, well, where is this going?
Yeah. I mean, I think that is more because there's more intrigue there.
Yeah,
it's a little bit slower. Like so for example, in the last episode, I think she has that that discussion with Luthien about that they need money or something like that, and then at some point in that episode, she says something about setting up a new. To her husband, she talks about setting up a new like charity fund.
Oh, right.
And he doesn't know anything about it. And he's like, well, what's this? Another new charity fund? And it's clearly her, like,
right.
She's sort of setting up a line of funds to Luthien, right? Like that's what that's all about. But they're not coming right out and saying that. You sort of have to read into that.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you're not following,
like
closely what she's saying, then you're not. You sort of that's sort of. I think it was easily missed if you're not paying attention.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
But I think that's like I like that there's like these, there's these like spy, it's almost like, it's like you're saying there's like the heist element.
Yeah.
And then there's like some almost like, like spy stuff going on and intrigue. And I think it's really good. And I'm curious how the deal is with Luthien and how he's gonna,
he's quickly becoming a favorite, my favorite, one of my favorite things of the whole show so far is when you meet him and he's that gruff Luthien, and then he goes and you see him put his wig on and his robe and he starts practicing his hand movements and he's getting into character to play that role. And I thought that was, I love that. I thought that was fascinating, and really shows you the duality of like, this guy's playing a role.
It's almost Palpatine like, right? Because he's sort of, he's putting on this front and then he's in the, he's really this guy.
Yeah.
But, I really like the show. I really like the show. I mean, they've been hitting it out of the park. I mean, we didn't love Boba Fett, but like as far as like Obi-Wan Kenobi, I thought was great. This show so far has been great.
Yeah.
They've really been hitting it out of the park on the TV series.
Yeah.
They really have.
And this show especially, it definitely feels planned out. Like, you know what I mean? Mandalorian is a little episodic, and that's what that is, and that's fine. Obi-Wan, there was a story they wanted to tell, and not that I liked Obi-Wan a lot, but it got a little in between, like when they had to go rescue Leia on the water platform thing.
Right.
I mean, it was great. I loved it, but it got a little, it moseyed around a little bit. Maybe is the best way to say it. Whereas this, I don't feel like there's no. There's a plan. They're like, here's where we're going to start, and here's where we're going to finish. And now, I mean, that could change with the on the end six of it, but as of right now, I mean, it's been a very clearly written. There's a path. I really liked it.
And we really may have seen, like in this last episode, this episode 6, we really may have seen the beginning of the rebellion. I mean, what did he say? They stole 80 million credits or something like that.
Yeah,
this may be the nucleus of where they get the ships, where the X-wings come from, where this may be the beginning of it all. And I like that they're sort of telling the story of the rebellion through Cassian, and I like that. I like that. He's there on the ground when it begins. And
no, I think that's really cool. And then I mean, there's other I guess at this point in the timeline, we don't even know if there's other cells out there yet.
Well, I think he says on the ship when he's going back and they start, he's like, oh, the rebellion, and he's like kind of, and he said, well, whether you're, he names like 3 things.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And he's like resistance or and so those, I think those cells are out there, like even, I mean, I guess Ezra and his crew are probably in this same time period, right?
Yeah, I mean, probably, right? I can't. When is this? Like 15 years before?
I thought this was like 5 years before.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Right, it was 5. That's right. Yeah. So those guys are definitely out there then.
So those guys are out there. So it's sort of like there's these different groups, but none of them are really organized yet. And Saul Guerrero is out there doing his thing.
Yeah, and he's gonna show up later in the series, so that'll be interesting to see how they tie him in.
So there's all these different groups, and it's like none of them are. They're all against the Empire, but there's no unifying thing.
Right.
And maybe that's what we're going to see here is like them taking this money that they just stole and
then
trying to get everything together,
Yeah, and truly becoming a rebellion. Yeah,
right.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I love the show. I love the look of it. I love the feel. Like it's a little gritty. It's a little, I like that it's a little, it's a little. I don't know what the word is. A little more violent than what we've seen so far. Like not. But I mean, there's a lot of more,
maybe realistic violence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I know what you're saying. I like it too. I can't help but wonder too is I feel like this entire show has been pretty much shot on various locations.
Yeah.
And I can't help but wonder if that's not contributing to the overall feel of it. I mean, listen, the volume, I think that's great. I really liked it, and all that. But like, again, sometimes your brain might realize like, well, this isn't real. You know what I mean? Or this is computer generated, even if it's the volume and on a screen behind them, whereas this is like, I'm sure there's definitely lots of special effects in this, but it's, there's something, what's it, tactile, you know what I mean? Like, like even that the dam and that they were going for in the final episode, that's a real dam somewhere in like Scotland, I think.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Like they showed a picture of it and you're like, that's it. Somebody scouted it out and we're like, hey, that looks kind of spacey.
Yeah. I know that a lot of this, I think all of it has been shot in the UK. So I wonder if that's,
I believe so.
Part of it is like that. I don't know. Yeah. I hear what you're saying. Like it definitely feels more like of the shows we've seen so far. I feel like this is the most Star Wars feel to it. If that makes sense. Like that it just everything feels more real, more.
Yes, I would. I agree with that. I know it's hard to. It's almost like it's hard to put into words, but like more real or like you said,
or at least
like,
realistic. I guess I don't. It's got the feel of A New Hope or like that kind of thing. Like that used look that everything sort of has.
Yes. And everything's dirty. Everything's got banged up and dents and all that. And because even like Mandalorian, he has some elements of that, but then like his armor's all like brand new and polished and like there's different things. So
but I love the show, and I'm very excited about and so there's 12 episodes.
Yes.
So we are at the halfway point. I'm really excited about it. I mean, I really like all the characters they've introduced. I've liked. Yeah. I mean, even the police officer guy who's sort of like down on his luck now and living with his mom again. Like, I'm even curious. Like, I'm like, where are they going to go with him? Like, I'm curious where that goes.
Right. He was eating the cereal with the blue milk. Right.
Right. I just think it's really good. Like, I'm curious to see where they're going with Mon Mothma. I want to know what happens to her husband and her kid because.
Yeah, I mean, right.
It's
not a good marriage. Like you can just tell, like, she's like can't stand the guy, and the guy comes across as like a total like douche.
Right. He's he's awful.
Yeah,
so,
right.
What happens to him? Is he
an Imperial?
Is he Imperial?
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, that's because he seems like he doesn't care.
He was like when they first introduced her, he was setting up for like a dinner party. And she says something like, well, if you invite so-and-so, and she rattles off a few names, she's like, don't expect me to, if I have to pay attention, I'm not going to play nice. Or she says something like that. And some of the people she mentioned are like, this is prequel stuff, so I'm not as good, but like, there's like a blue guy that was with the Emperor that had the horns and stuff. So he's like the visor, I think they called him.
Okay.
And so he's sort of next to command under the emperor, and he was one of the dinner guests that was coming.
Okay.
And that's when you could just, she was just like disgusted, and she's like basically like, like, I don't want to deal with him, so it's just stuff like that where it's like, it's interesting, right? And right, if he's hobnobbing with all these Imperials, who knows what his politics are, or if he might just be happy to be hobnobbing,
right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. And then we have Saul Guerrero coming up, so we have him to look forward to. Yes, bunch. I know, like, just in the trailer when we see some stormtroopers, and so it's gonna keep going and get better and better.
Yeah, I really like that. I know people have been complaining that it's too slow. I don't see it. I can see where it's, it has its it's like an arc, right? Like,
yes.
It's and I can see that, but I just don't. I think it's really good.
Yeah, it's a purposeful slowness. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I don't know. Sometimes in other TV shows they get slow. It's like, this is filler. Like,
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it's the story. You know what I mean? It's not filler.
Agreed.
It's
building to something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
yeah. So I'm really enjoying this. Really liking it. Hopefully, hopefully it plays out. Hopefully we enjoy the second half as much as the first, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, we'll go from there. All right. And then catch it tomorrow. There'll be a new episode tomorrow.
Yeah, right. Yep.
All right. So I think we shift here. I don't think there's any more Star Wars news, right?
Oh, the other thing I was going to mention, Tales of the Jedi. We talked about it last time. That comes out, I think, in in 9 days. I think I just saw something before we got on. I saw something on their Facebook page. That'll be dropping, I think, next week sometime. So
wow.
Keep an eye out for that. I know.
I just can't keep. I'm behind on stuff already. I can't keep up with any of it.
But that's just a series of shorts, so I don't think that's going to take up. I think it'll be like if you sit down and watch it, it's going to be pretty much a one and done. I think
that might be elliptical watching.
There
if
you
I'm
go.
on the elliptical, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one's kind of fun, I think.
Right.
Oh, not that. There we go.
There you go.
So we got New York City Comic Con. We got the teaser trailer for the Super Mario Brothers movie.
So I'm gonna let you're taking this one. What what do you think of this? I'll tell you what. I'll jump in real quick and just say,
go ahead.
It looks good. You know, I was surprised. I was like, oh, this looks really good. So, but I'll throw it to you. I know this is your, this is good. This is your thing.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this movie. I was excited about it before. I mean, I think it looks fantastic.
Yeah, right.
Like this opening sequence in the with Bowser. Like, I don't know what else you could. I mean, that's it, right? Like, I don't know what else you're looking for. Jack Black as Bowser is fantastic.
He was great, right? I mean, I don't know what Bowser. I don't know what I expected his voice to sound like, but when he talks, I'm like, man, that's great,
Yeah, I'm really excited about this movie. I know.
Right?
Because everything online. I'm really starting to convince. I'm really convinced now that social media is really about destroying anything you enjoy. That's really what it's what it's about.
That's a fair assessment.
Like, if you like anything, social media will destroy it. But no, so everybody's beef with this movie is Chris Pratt.
Right.
And I don't know. I like, there's a whole thing going online that they want. There's people who want Charles Martinet, who's been the voice of Mario in the video games, they're like, I don't know why they didn't ask Charles Martinet to voice Mario for the movie. He could have done it. He's got the chops for it. Yada yada
right.
yada. I don't know, man. like I don't know where that comes from. Mario does not speak in any games.
Right.
There's no dialogue for Mario. It's little noises. Right. He's like, woohoo, and like, Mamma Mia. Like, he does it's not. There's no dialogue, so I don't even know where that assessment comes from. That now, Martinet could carry an entire movie.
Did there used to be a cartoon?
And Martinet didn't do that either.
He didn't. Oh,
No.
okay. Then I'm thinking when you're saying wonder where these people were getting it from, I'm like, oh, well, maybe he did the voice in the cartoon or
No.
something. But then right.
So he's just been like, and look, he does great. Like that fits for the games,
Yes.
right? When there's these like little sound snippets, I could not take 2 hours of Charles Martinet with a high voice.
Yeah.
In nobody wants to hear that. Like
Well,
nobody wants to hear that.
Well, and then the thing you have to be careful of is that if they used him or just in general, it's like, it could quickly devolve into like a stereotype.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, Italian people, I don't know how upset, we get, but right. I mean, but if it's like, if it leaned too heavily into that, it could become like stereotypical where you're like, wait a minute, this is kind of crossing the line here or something along those lines. So when the voice that you hear here with Chris Pratt, it sounds like he's doing like a little bit of a Brooklyn-y,
right.
Like, and so I'm like, oh, okay, like, he's a plumber. Like, it's not about making fun of him being Italian. It's more like it's just it's more of a Brooklyn-ish type of thing. So I didn't think it sounded bad. I mean, of course, that's the first thing I heard. I'm like, oh, it's Chris Pratt,
Chris Pratt says in this movie, in this trailer, which is not a long trailer to begin with.
Right.
But in this trailer, he says 8 words.
Is that all he said? Really?
8 words.
Oh, that's funny.
How can you possibly get yourself all worked up? Like, you don't even know what the voice sounds like. Like, can we at least get a few sentences from him?
Right.
Before we determine that this thing is a complete disaster? Like, 8 words. And he clearly has, like, he's definitely giving it. I mean, anybody that was thinking that Mario in this movie was going to have an Italian accent,
right,
was fooling themselves. Like,
right.
I never ever thought that's how they were going to do it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, you couldn't. You know what I mean?
No.
You can't,
Chris Pratt was never going to do an Italian accent. So if that's what they were looking for, they were setting themselves up for disappointment. He was always like, I think in the cartoon, which was back in the 90s or 80s, I don't remember when.
Right.
But in that cartoon, he always had a New York accent.
Oh, is that okay?
Right. And I was like, that's what they're going to do. I mean, it seems obvious that's
right.
what they're going to do.
But someone that's looking to tear down something that someone else likes, they're going to come at it like, oh, I can't believe it. And then not for anything, but Chris Pratt has an entire segment of the internet that hates him for some reason.
Right.
And you're just kind of like, I mean, I don't know. It's like, I don't. Right. They just find reasons to hate.
Thieves of joy.
Yeah.
Right. but like, I think the trailer really looks good. I thought of what I heard I would have liked to have, I wish they would have put more of Mario's dialogue in it.
Right. Just
because it feels like, it almost seems like, I don't think this was their intent, but it almost feels like they're trying to hide it.
Right.
And I would like, no, just own it, man. Like, lean into it and own it.
Right.
Right. And, I think it was a mistake to only do the little dialogue they had.
Unless they were afraid. To be perfectly honest, they could have him delivered an entire, like soliloquy, or, you know what I mean? And the hate, whether it was good or bad, there still would have been that subset of people that were like, it was awful,
Right.
Whether, and again, it gets into everything else, whether it's they believe it, whether there's ulterior motive, whether it's clickbait, there's always, every time you look at anything anymore, you're like, all right, what does this really mean? Everything's got so many layers anymore where you're like, does this guy really hate this? Like, even She-Hulk, like, does this guy really hate this that much? Or is he just want people to click on it and then share it because they're like, look how much this guy hates She-Hulk,
Right.
Like that,
I think that's what it is. I think it's just the more you hate on something, and we've heard it for, not with our podcast is not like that, but we've heard like those are the podcasts that get the most listens is people who are like,
well, right,
everything's a disaster, know.
the more outrageous and controversial, and the more, the more people listen, and you get some people that agree with you.
Right.
But 9 times out of 10, it's people, even like my Twitter feed, like 9 times out of 10, it's somebody sharing something horrible because they're like, "Can you believe this?"
Yeah. Right.
And you're like, "Well, why are you even sharing it?" Don't give them oxygen. That's what I always think. So
yeah, but I'm looking forward to this movie. I think the trailer looks like the animation is great.
The animation is great. This is by the same guy, Illuminati, or
Illumination.
Illumination, right? Yeah. The
and
guys, yeah.
But what the thing is, like, I have a lot of hope for this movie. Look, Nintendo is particularly, like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Mario Brothers movie from the 1990s.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I saw. I know exactly what you mean. I'm sure I've seen parts of it. Yeah,
right. It was a legendary disaster. Right.
Yeah.
And Nintendo, like, that was an error. Nintendo licensed the property out, but they didn't have anything to do with the film.
Oh, is that right? I never knew that.
They just licensed it out, and it totally went off the rails. Right. And there's all kinds of, like, like, there's all kinds of stuff. Like, I think that the actors were drunk half the time because they knew it was awful. Like, it was there's this whole story to that movie. But, like, Nintendo learned then.
Yeah.
That's why they've never done a movie since, right? Like, they learned then. They were like, we're not doing it. So the guy who actually created Mario, Shigeru Miyamoto, is one of he's one of Nintendo's, like, he's probably the guy who's known for developing games I mean, even he's like one of the best game designers there's ever been, Shigeru Miyamoto, and he's been intimately involved in this and in the production of, like, the Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios and stuff like that.
All right.
So he's very involved in this.
So he's their guiding force. He's their, right. He's their okay.
So I don't think he's going to like, he created Mario, right? He's not going to let this property, go awry, right?
Yes.
This, so I have a lot of hope that this movie, like, they're not going to put this movie out unless they know the movie's good, and that's kind of where we're at.
Well, yeah. So, yeah, especially in this day and age where I feel like, there's so much money going into these things. Like, I think gone are the days of just throw a bunch of money at something to see what happens. It's like, I think there's so, there's so much planning and stuff in these things.
Yeah. So it's, so I'm really looking forward to it. It comes out April 7th. I'm going to be there day one, I'm buying a ticket. So I'm in. But
it definitely looks like, I mean, if they play their cards right, and assuming it's good, I mean, this is infinitely franchisable, with these characters, and they can just run with it. I mean, this could be, this could be great. And it looks, like you said, it looks great. So, yeah.
And they have a whole, like, I think Nintendo's really, they've got I think they know they've got a gold mine there, because Mario he's one of the most recognizable. He's like most recognizable characters there are. He's up there with Mickey Mouse, and you see him, exactly who he is and where he, what he represents.
Yeah, it's funny. I just saw a thing today where, like, top logos, and it was like, it's like Superman's S shield and Batman and stuff like that. But then Mario was there too, and I thought that, I didn't disagree with it. And now it's just funny that you're talking about it now.
Yeah,
so I'm like, that's you're right. Totally know who Mario is. So
yeah, and I think they've got a lot of properties. Legend of Zelda. People love Legend of Zelda, and there's been a rumored Legend of Zelda TV show for years. That there's going to be an animated.
That seems like something that would be. I mean, I don't know much about it, but I know there's a huge amount of love for that property, and I'm like, at this point, you're like, well, who isn't licensing? Like, who isn't coming to them saying, like, let's go, let's make this.
Right, and with all these streaming platforms, and
exactly.
And they actually just Nintendo bought an animation studio. Really? I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but recently.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's, I mean, it's not a big, like, Illuminations. I don't think it's going to be putting out movies, but I think it will certainly, I think they bought it certainly with the idea of creating content for streaming platforms.
Yeah,
with their property. So
right. Oh, all right, very good.
Yeah.
Right?
So good stuff.
Yeah.
April 7th.
All right, well, good. That's something to look forward to then. That's fun.
Now the big question is, will a game come along with it? Because we haven't had a Mario game in a while.
I'm sure there has to be. You would almost,
There's got to be a game tie-in. Gotta be.
Yeah. They'd be stupid not to. If you're putting all that money into promoting the movie, you gotta, especially with it being a video game property, you gotta have the game to go with it.
Yeah, because the last Mario, like true. I mean, Mario's always in something, but like the last like Mario game was Mario Odyssey. It came out when the Switch came out.
Oh, it's been that long though.
So 2017. That was the last.
That's a long. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a while. So he's due.
They must have something planned then.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. So that was it. That's it for the Super Mario Brothers trailer. What else we got here? I think we're going.
All right. I just wanted to. We can do DC real quick, and then that'll be
okay.
We'll wrap it up. So in DC news, we have Black Adam coming out, and I believe it's coming out next week, or maybe it's this week. And so I'm still not sure. I'm hopeful. I'm cautiously optimistic for this. The reason I really wanted to talk about it today is apparently the Rock, because he's the Rock, but he also has some power within the DC, the business side of the DC universe. And apparently, from what I'm understanding, is the spoilers for Black Adam, but the end credits scene has been leaked online. And there's been some talk whether it was on purpose or it was truly a leak. But apparently the end credits, Black Adam's like, nobody can beat me or something like that. And Superman drops down and it's Henry Cavill. And he's like, we got to talk. So it's not a rumor. It was leaked and it was like, it was legit footage and everything.
Okay.
So that seems to be happening. So the rumor was that, the old guy at Warner Brothers didn't want any more to do with any of the Zack Snyder guys and that version of the Justice League. And that's when you started seeing like rumors that Michael Keaton was going to come back as like the official Batman and different things like that. Well, apparently The Rock sort of went around him, and I think he's gone now. This other guy whose name I can't remember. I think he's out anyway because of the Discovery merger.
Okay.
But so The Rock went around him and got permission to get Henry Cavill in his movie, basically. And so with that little bit there, it seems that those characters are going to continue. So it seems like we'll see Black Adam's they're setting him up for more. We'll see the Superman will be back. Or there's a rumor just today that their Superman Man of Steel 2's in development. So I'm not sure.
Okay.
Again, not sure about that, but it seems like that might happen. There's all these rumors that Ben Affleck's back as Batman in Flash and Aquaman and stuff like that.
If Flash ever comes out.
Well, right. I read today that apparently Flash 2 has already been written. So it's like, no wonder they're trying to save it so bad. But right. I think they're going to be in for no matter how hard they try.
Right.
But so I think Michael Keaton was originally they were setting him up to be the sort of the DCU's Batman, and I think it's going to be Ben Affleck. I think Michael Keaton will just be like a time variant or whatever you want to call it for DC.
Okay.
Yeah. So so that was all I really wanted to talk about, just the confirmed Superman appearance. And like I said, I'm interested in the movie. I like Black Adam, but I don't know if I can get past him being The Rock. Not that The Rock's going to do a bad job, but it's very hard to be like, oh, I'm invested in this character because when it's The Rock.
Yeah.
And but everybody else looks good. Hawkman is really growing on me. I was concerned about him a little bit, but I've been seeing more with him, and the actor was talking and stuff. I'm like, oh, this guy seems pretty cool. Like, it's kind of like him, and I like the look of Hawkman's metal wings and stuff now. Dr. Fate, he's looking really cool.
Yeah, you see a lot of them in this trailer.
Yeah.
And they look pretty good,
right,
the other characters.
So I'm excited for that. Atom Smasher, he can grow really big, sort of the opposite of, or like Giant Man or whatever, but he does that. And apparently I read somewhere he's pretty funny. So I'm like, all right, that's cool. And then the girl is Cyclone, and she's got like wind powers and she spins and stuff like that. She looks really different from her comic book counterpart, but I'm on board. Sure. So I don't know if I'm going to rush right out to see it, but I think I might, might get, as long as like, good reviews come out, I think I might give it a shot.
Yeah, I'd check it out. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to go, we'll go.
Yeah.
I'd tag along.
All right, cool. Yeah, we'll have to see what we can do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hope they, I don't know. I hope DC gets their act together. Look,
Right.
I liked Henry Cavill as Superman. I thought he looked the part.
Yes.
Right. Like he made a good Superman. I just didn't love that movie. You know,
and I'm in the same boat with you.
Right. But I think he's got the look. So if they change how they write him,
yeah,
I think it could work. Like I think he's got the right look. They just didn't. I didn't feel like they ever captured his personality well.
Right. They never captured Superman.
The true essence of the character.
And I mean, I know they said, I think they were trying to. I think what Zack Snyder was going for is one, to try to make him more relatable, but I think they were trying to show him sort of growing into him becoming Superman.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm being generous here because that's what I think they were trying to do. But, at the end of the day, by the end of the first movie, you want Superman. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, all right, you're going to give me an origin story. I want Superman by the end of it. And I feel like that didn't happen. And then, they got totally derailed because instead of doing a Man of Steel 2, they did Superman versus Batman, which I think collectively everyone was like, why are they fighting?
Yeah. Right.
Basically, you could see them writing the script, must fight,
Yeah, right.
And you're like, well, all right, but they're friends. Like, I don't know. And so anyway, and then, it was a, sorry if you like Zack Snyder's, but I like his work. I think visually it looks good, but just I didn't care for his DCU, and it just was a snowball that kept going, and it sort of like peaked with when they let him do his version, when they let him do like the 4-hour version of Justice League on HBO Max. It's like even that after 4 hours, you're like, enough already. Like, it's very self-indulgent, and even then at the very end, I'm like, why?
Yeah, right.
So anyway, I hope that Black Adam is a bit of a soft reset for them. I hope this is the beginning of them sort of getting their act together. And maybe I read somebody's kind of comparing this to Guardians of the Galaxy to an extent where it's like they're going to take a bit of an unknown thing and sort of like launch it, and maybe that'll help.
Yeah.
Marvel's already firing on all cylinders when Guardians came out, but maybe this will help get everybody back into gear, and we'll have to see. But it would be really nice to see the DC universe actually
get a win.
Yeah, get a win and have good movies, and be able to be somewhat successful in a connected universe.
Yeah, it would be nice to be able to see those characters on the big screen.
Yeah,
in a good movie.
Right. Yeah. And if they keep Ben Affleck over here in like the sort of called the Justice League universe or whatever you want to call it, if they keep Ben Affleck here, and then Robert Pattinson can still be the Batman in his other universe.
Right.
I think there's room for both. I mean, people are so savvy, the audience is extremely savvy enough that I think they realize like, oh, this is a different universe.
Yeah.
This is a different movie now. I understand that,
Right.
So I'm all on board for that.
Excellent.
So, all right.
Yeah, we good? Anything else?
No, I think that's it for this time around. We'll we did pretty good. We'll wrap it up.
All right. Sounds good to me. Just FYI, the Phillies are up by 1 run right now.
Oh, there you go.
I think we're going into the 5th inning. So
very nice. Okay.
So fingers crossed there. All right.
Yeah, right.
So next time you hear from us, I will have been on the Starcruiser.
Yes.
And
right.
I can report back and tell you what my thoughts on it were. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, very much.
And I guess with that, we're going to wrap up the show. So you can follow us on social media, and keep your eye on social media because we're going to be posting all kinds of stuff out there while we're on the Starcruiser. So we have Instagram. We're at Geek Hangout Pod on Twitter. You can follow us on Facebook. We have Instagram, right? Yeah, we have an Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Geek Hangout Podcast, or at Geek Hangout Podcast on Instagram.
Yeah. Now we're not supposed to live stream anything, so I'm probably not going to post any live streams, but it'll be a lot of pictures.
A lot of pictures and stuff. Okay.
Yeah. So with that, we're going to wrap up the show. Talk to you guys next time. Good night, everybody.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.